Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shrim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Jai Shri Krishna, Govinda Maha. Jai Shri Krishna, Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Namacharya Haridas Prabhu Jai Ho. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Since Janmashtami is fast approaching, so I'm going to hurry up a bit. It won't affect you. We'll go slowly, clearly, whatever we do, but a little bit skipping here and there, so that we are in time for the Janmashtami. So yesterday we haven't completed Prahalada's life, so let me finish that. The king then sent Prahlada once again to the home of the Gurus, hoping for the best on Teacher's Day. So, Chanda and Amarka taught him about all the charms which beguile the mind of man, also mind of women. They also gave him lessons on dharma, artha, kama, and all his thoughts were only on the last part, moksha. During his stay with the Gurus, Prahalada was with them bodily, but his mind far away and never with them. Once the Gurus had gone out, Prahalada was left alone with his playmates. They were all very fond of the gentle, sweet companion who was being ill-treated by his father. Even their Gurus were ill-using the prince, and the children loved him all the more for it. Prahalada began to talk to his companions, unsullied as yet by hatred and its kindred qualities which invade the mind only when one grows older. The young boys were attracted to the talk of Prahlada. They are not still grown old, so their belief systems had not crystallized, still open. Prahlada said, "Listen to me, all of you." For some time he became the Guru. We are all blessed with these bodies and these wonderful minds. It will be a crime if we waste our time. They are given to us for a purpose. The mind should be set on the Lord. The body should be used for the worship of the Lord. Abandon the asuric qualities which are your heritage and replace them with good ones like loving everyone, hating no one, having nothing but compassion towards all living beings. God will be very easily pleased, and you will reach Him effortlessly this way. Think on Him, sing His praise, you will reach Him easily. Now, the boys said, "How do you know?" "You speak so surely as though you know for certain that this is the truth. Tell us how you know these things." He said, "The Rishi Narada, a devotee of Narayana, taught me this," said Prahlada. Boys were puzzled. They said, "Ever since we were born, we have been together. We have known no other Guru than the ones we have. Unfortunately, when did you meet this Narada and learn so much from him? Prahlada smiled and said, long ago, when my father had been to the mountain Mandara to perform tapasya, the Devas, thinking that he was sure to meet his end on the mountain, began to fight with the Asuras in the kingdom. The Asuras were fleeing from the onslaught. The Devas entered my father's palace and looted it. Indra captured my mother. She was weeping, but he paid no heed to her entreaties. Then by chance, the sage Narada saw him and said, Hey Indra, it is not right that you should carry away this woman. It is the dharma which the gods practice. Shame on you, abandon her at once. Indra said, My lord, you do not understand. I am not carrying her off with bad intentions. She has growing inside her an asura who is even now glowing like fire. I want to keep her with me until the child is born. After killing the newborn, which if allowed to live will harass us, I will release her. Narada said, You are wrong. The child that is to be born will not harass you. It will not be the cause of distress to the Devas. On the other hand, it will be a devotee of Narayana and will be the cause of your later happiness and freedom from his father's tyranny. Indra trusted Narada and his words. He released my mother and went away. Then Narada took my mother to his hermitage. He comforted her and said, You can live in my ashrama until your child is born, until your husband returns from his tapasya. You can rest assured that you will be happy here. My mother was engaged in serving the rishis during her stay in the ashrama. With me in mind, Narada would every day teach her the yoga called bhakti, the easiest path by which the Lord can be reached. And he would speak to her about the boon of knowledge, the ultimate truth, the realization of the Atman in one's own body to be none other than the eternal Supreme Being, Paramatman, the Parabrahma. She heard it all, but did not stay long in her mind. She heard it. The difference between hearing and listening. She was hearing, but she was not listening. She heard it, but did not stay long in her mind. I heard it, but I didn't forget it. Prahlada told them in great detail about the lessons he had learned and the path, which appealed to the children naturally. If he had told them, the children, sit down and do your... He said, sing the names of the Lord, dance, so happy. So they said, fine. When the Gurus came back, they found that the youngsters, all of them, were singing the praises of Narayana. And the chorus was led by Prahlada. So they put a stop to it immediately and proceeded with their teaching. But they found, to their dismay, that the words were making absolutely no impression on the kids. Young Prahlada had converted them all to his way of thinking. In despair, they went to the presence of Hiranya and said, This is what is happening, sir. The anger of the king was terrible. He decided this was too much, going beyond. control. At first it seemed as though he was just mumbling words, which heard, and the meaning was not grasped. Later it came to pass that he did mean what he said. He had the audacity to criticize his father's way of thinking and way of living. He had asked his father to abandon them. Hiranya had asked his people to put Prahalada to death, but they had bungled. There were reports of miracles happening and about the boy being saved. Hiranya thought that they had all become soft because the victim was a child and they did not have the heart to be really firm with him. Hiranya decided that finally only I can finish him off with my own hands. All the love he had for his son vanished long ago. The fact that Prahlada was a staunch bhakta of Narayana was enough for him. The king made up his mind to put the boy to death. With a firm voice he shouted, "Bring that son of mine here to my presence at this very instant. I will deal with him and take care of his impertinence." Hiranya sent for his son. Prahlada came and stood in front of him with folded hands. After taking the dust of his father's feet, Hiranya spoke harshly to his son. He said, "You are a fool, a stupid fool. You are the son of a great king like me and you talk highly of a mere deva who has no courage to fight me. I have put up with you and your impertinence all these days." Smile. But I now realize that you have become a menace. You will be the ruin of the entire house. You do not respect me and my words, and I have reached the limits of my patience. I am today going to dispatch you to the abode of Yama, so prepare yourself. The child stood calm and unruffled as though the words of censure were addressed to somebody else. Imagine, he is standing in front of a father who is so angry. He is the most powerful of asuras, who has taken a bone that he cannot be killed. And he says, "I am going to kill you." And Prahlada pretended as if he didn't hear anything. His imperturbable expression incensed Hiranya more. He bent his furious eyes on Prahalada, who was standing before him in the same respectful stance, and said, "I have had enough of your hypocrisy and this assumption of a false respect for me. You have been harassing me enough with praises of my enemy. How dare you continue to do that, what you are forbidden to do? How could you pluck enough courage to mention his name in my kingdom? I have decided to kill you." Prahlada's eyes met those of his father. Many people know the story, but the nuances of the beautiful rendering in the Bhagavat by Vyasas, Sukadeva of course, is extraordinary. Prahlada's eyes met those of his father. There was a look of pity and sadness in the eyes of Prahlada. He said, "My father, you think that I am a bad son, but the truth is I am not. I only want to help you. Even now, if you listen to me, you will be saved. The Lord Narayana is the most powerful of gods and the most compassionate. He is greater than all the devas, greater than Brahma, the creator, and so on. He is the glow which illumines the senses, the mind and the intellect. The world is created by Him, sustained by Him, destroyed by Him. Please accept that He is more powerful than you. That is all I ask. Just say okay. Lord Narayana is not your enemy. It is your own mind which is your enemy. Not Narayana. Your mind is your enemy. It runs right in the wrong paths. Your mind is the enemy which has to be subdued, not Narayana. There is no greater enemy than a mind uncontrolled, unsubdued. Please subdue your mind. Infuse equanimity into your mind. Let your mind be rid of the dread qualities, raga, dvesha, love and hatred. That is the only worship dear to the Lord. You say you have conquered the 10 quarters of the universe. How untrue. You have not been able to conquer the 6 dread enemies which are inside you. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada and Matsara. When one has conquered these enemies, when he has controlled his mind, when he has brought his senses under control, when he is wise enough to know the same Atman is lodged in the hearts of all, can he have an enemy? You are your enemy. My father, please conquer yourself. By now, Hiranya was furious. He glowered at him and said, "Indeed, you are very modest. You think you are wise enough to teach dharma to your father, who in reality should be treated as a guru, honored as a god by you. But all that is beside the point. You say that there is a Lord who is greater than me. Tell me who He is and where He is." The young child said, "He is Narayana, my father. How many times should I tell you?" And He is everywhere. Everywhere. He was unafraid. There was not even a trace of fear in his voice or in his attitude. He stood with a calm look on his face. Hiranya could detect the respect with which his son spoke to him. Only, instead of pleasing him, it infuriated the Asura, since Prahlada's words were not pleasing to his ears. "Everywhere," said Hiranya. His red eyes came to rest on a huge pillar in the council hall. He sneered at Prahlada. Is he then inside that pillar? We get many such questions when we do the Upanishads. Prahlada prostrated before the pillar and said, "Yes, he is. Well, I can see him there, inside the pillar." Hiranyakashipu looked round the pillar. He looked up and down and he could find nothing. He said, "I am now going to kill you." First you tell me wrong things, then you show me disrespect. Then you started lying, he is there in the pillar. I don't see. Let the Lord who is inside the pillar help you now. Let him come out of the pillar and rescue you from death. With a loud cry, Hiranyakashipu jumped down from the seat with his sword drawn in his hand, with his strong, powerful fist, he hit the pillar. Terrible noise was heard. It was like the clap of thunder. The entire world trembled in fear on hearing the noise, but Hiranya was not afraid. He kept on staring at the pillar. Even as he was looking, the pillar split into two, and out of it emerged something. The Lord, but something. Description. The Lord assumed a terrible form, and glowing like molten gold, he stood there. His eyes were flecked with gold, looked at Hiranya, and they were glaring out of the face of a lion. An immense tongue, red like blood, was lashing in the huge mouth, which was like a cavern. The tongue looked like a sword dipped in blood. The lion had an immense mane. His chest was immense too, and the waist was slender like that of a lion. Waist downwards, however, it was the form of a man, like a human being. Everyone who saw it was struck with terror, but not Hiranya, even now. He stood staring at it and thinking to himself, what a strange looking thing is this? It is neither a man nor an animal. Suddenly his mind went back several years. He was standing on the slope of the Mandara mountain and Brahma was before him. He remembered the boon he had asked for, the boon of immortality, and he remembered Brahma saying that he was unable to do so. He had then said, grant me that none of your creations will be the cause of my death. None of the things created by you shall be able to kill me. Hiranya came back with a start. Suddenly in memory he came back to the present. This definitely, he said to himself, is not a thing created by Brahma. Could it be possible that this is my death? Hiranya shrugged the thought away, and with his weapon upraised, he rushed towards the Lord. For a moment, he could not be seen because of the glow from Narasimha. But he didn't stop. Hiranya hit the Lord with his mace. If you hate the Lord, you should hate like Hiranya. Sure salvation. Don't be half. Today I hate the Lord, tomorrow help me with a promotion. Day after tomorrow, no. Hiranya hit the Lord with his gada, with his mace. That creature which was there lifted him bodily like Garuda would take a snake. Hiranya wriggled out of his grasp and again attacked him. Narasimha again attacked him with his mace. The Lord caught him in his mighty arms, carried him to the door of the hall, and paused at the threshold. He placed the Asura on his lap after sitting on the threshold. Because one the other boon was, he cannot be killed inside the house or outside the house. Now in the doorway is not mentioned. The Supreme Court will say, right, quite lawful. So, he sat there. Hiranya looked helplessly around. Sky was deepening into darkness, so what does it mean? The other boon. It was neither day nor night, so it was twilight. Thing is, when you ask for a boon, be careful what you ask. He smiled to himself, Hiranya, and said, I think the end is coming. It was neither day or night. He was on the threshold of the hall, which was neither inside nor outside. He was caught in the arms of the beast, which was not a beast, and man was not a man. He had placed him on his own lap. That was one of the boons that he had asked, that he should die neither in the sky nor on the earth. He was on the lap of the Lord. With a strange clarity, all the words came back. Like a landscape is reflected in a drop of dew. And yet, he was not afraid. He tried to fight again, but the grip of his enemy was too strong. He turned his eyes on his son as if to say, perhaps what you said is right. There seems to be someone stronger and more powerful than me. Placing Hiranyakashipu on his lap, Narasimha tore his entrails out with his nails and teeth. The sight was dreadful. He plucked the entrails out and put them on his neck like a garland and looked fiercely around. The thing is, everybody is worried now. Not only Hiranya, his end has come. The world suffered agony as the result of his wrath. The sea was shaken into mighty waves and the earth trembled in fear. The sky and the heavens lost their glow because his luster swallowed all other light. The clouds were scattered here and there and the planets were all suffering under an eclipse. The oceans were heaving as though there was an upheaval in the netherworld. The elephants guarding the quarters were frightened because of the roar of the lion. The earth was quaking since she could not bear under this powerful stride of his. Lord walked with his dead victim and sat on the throne. By the time Hiranyakashipu was gone, he sat on the throne. No one dared to go near him. No one dared to accost his angry form. Not the Devas, not Brahma, not even Lakshmi. He stayed away. He never seen this manifested. So gentle and so nice and so sweet while I sit and massage his feet, praising me, saying, look there, graciously, somebody will get some wealth. What is this figure here? She also kept aside. Standing far away from him, Brahma started singing praises. The Devas and Brahma, along with Mahadeva, said, strange indeed are the ways of the Lord. You are the motivating force in everything that happens. You were the one who originally caused anger in the minds of the Sanakavinis. It was you who caused your bhaktas Jaya and Vijaya to be hurled into the world of sin. You are the one who made me deluded enough to grant all boons which Hiranya asked for. And in the house of this Asura was born the greatest of your bhaktas, and that too because you wanted it. You made the father try to kill the son. And finally, to protect your bhakta, you have taken yourself the task of destroying the Asura. Who can gauge the purpose behind your actions? We salute you in all humility. Narasimha was anger personified. Meanwhile, When the Devas with Brahma had gone to him long ago asking for help to rid the world of Hiranyakashipu, the Lord had said, when he hurts his son, who will be my bhakta? The son who will be untainted by faults like enmity and cruelty, who will ever be tranquil and unruffled by the sufferings inflicted on him, then will I appear in person and destroy Hiranya, not before. Long after the killing of Hiranya, his anger had not abated. The Devas led by Brahma were not able to approach him. So terrible was his appearance. Standing at a distance, they spoke words of praise. They then went to Lakshmi and said, Mother, please, can you appease this Lord? Earth and the skies are suffering. Unless the Lord is appeased, the world will come to an end, and so will the heavens. Lakshmi took one look at the Lord, and her face went pale with fright. And she said, No, I do not have the courage to approach him in this mood. I have never seen him in this mood. I am afraid. Narasimha was seated on the throne of Hiranyakashipu. Praises were reaching him from a distance. Brahma then went to Prahlada and said, Child, the Lord took this form and killed your father because of the affection he has for you. It is up to you now to do something. None of us can approach. Only you can save the world from this wrath. Prahlada said, okay. Without speaking a word, with his eyes streaming with tears of joy at seeing his beloved Lord, the young child went near Narasimha, fell at his feet, washed them with his tears. He placed his hand on the head of the child after raising him up. Prahlada felt a thrill running through his entire body. All his imperfections were gone. The moment it was revealed to him was the truth about the Supreme Being. His eyes were closed, his palms were folded together like a lotus bud, and his eyes were raining tears incessantly. He stood still like a tree, and his voice was choked with sobs as he began to praise the Lord in his childish voice. He started like this, My Lord, you are inaccessible to Brahman and the Devas, to Brahma and the Devas. To the rishis who sit in meditation for ages, to wise whose words flow like water and very great and good men, all these are unable to have a glimpse of your form. How come me, born as an asura, been blessed by the sight of you? In your infinite love for me, you have shown yourself in this terrible form. Even Ashtanga Yoga is inferior to devotion. I am sure of it. Shall we close down our yoga training? I am sure of it. Or else, how could a mere animal like the elephant? There's a story of an elephant getting mercy from the Lord. Nothing else pleases you but devotion. And so on. Last sentence of the description is called the prayer of Prahlada. I have had a sight of you, and I am praying that my bonds have been burnt away, that I will reach you soon. Then Lord Narasimha cooled down, abandoned his anger, And placing the young child on his lap, he said, I'm fond of you, my child. You are the greatest of the asuras and the noblest. I want to grant you any boon that you desire. Ask me. I am here to satisfy all the desires of men. Ask me what you desire most, and I will grant it. The Lord was trying to tempt the child with the things of the world, like Yama did to Nachiketas. He said, no, since you have commanded me to ask a boon of you, I will not insult you by refusing it. But I want to be always your devotee, nothing else. I want to see you. I want to sing your praises. I'm happy. I don't want any other boon, but you have asked for, so I don't want to break this protocol. So, I want a boon from you. This is the boon I want. I want your form to be in my heart forever, and thus I should be able to have no place for any other desire in my heart. If love for you is steadfast, others will not occupy my mind. When a bhakta is firm, the first thing which goes is the ego. And with the ego will vanish all the qualities associated with it. When one sheds the desires in the heart, he becomes as rich as you are, my Lord. It's interesting, this E, which never goes, is called an ego. I salute you, ancient Purusha, the Parabrahman, Hari Narayana, Narasimha. Now Narasimha became a Shantamurti, cool down, and praised. Lakshmi came and sat by his side, and he became Lakshmi Narasimha. Till then she didn't dare. Now he said, my child, you will live till the end of this kalpa. Without getting involved in them, you will enjoy the pleasures of the world. And when you are free of this bondage in the body, you will reach me. Prahlada bowed his head and said, Lord, be gracious to my father. He was ignorant of the glory that is you, and he spent his entire life hating you. You were very angry with him for this treatment of me. Forgive him. Let him be rid of the sin by name Bhagavat Bhakta Nindana, making fun of, torturing bhaktas of the Lord. Big sin. Get rid of that for him. So be it, said Narasimha. He smiled and added, because you have been born in the line of Hiranya, not only will I forgive your father, because you are born in the line of Hiranya, he and 21 of his ancestral lines have been purified. He has reached the land of your Pitris, of your forefathers. You may perform the rites for him. I will also tell you, the descendants of yours will all be dear to me. Narasimha then told Brahma, you should not from now on, I am warning you, grant boons indiscriminately to the asuras. It is like feeding serpents with nectar. Narasimha vanished from the sight. Prahlada honored the devas, etc., etc. Yudhishthira, you must have noticed that the first janma of these two was such that krodha was predominant, anger was predominant, and accompanied by mada, arrogance. Anger and arrogance, actually two sides of the same coin. In the birth as Ravana, Kama was the main vice which was rampant. In this Janma, Matsara is the predominant emotion in the minds of these two. Competition. The one who listens to the story of Prahlada and the grace of the Lord, to this bhakta will never again be born in this world, said Narada. This is part of Narada's story, conclude story. Yudhishthira was silent for a moment and then said, fortunate indeed was the Asura child, Prahlada, who has seen the Lord in person. Narada smiled at Yudhishthira and said, hey, have you not realized yet that you are more fortunate than anybody else? Prahlada and his guru, who is myself, were not as fortunate as you are. Your ancestors are the Pururavas. Pururavas are your ancestors. Rishis like the great Vashishta, why even Brahma the creator are inferior to you? Why? They spend ages studying the Upanishads and search for the Brahman who has been said to be hidden herein. As for you, this Brahman, this essence of the Upanishad, is living with you even if you do not ask him to. Your home is as pure and holy and sacred as all the Upanishads put together. Parabrahma did not live in the house of the child Prahlada. The rishis did not go to his house to see the Brahman. What has happened now? The rishis are searching for Brahman in Vaikuntha, in the solar space, in the ocean of milk, in the Shweta-Deepa, and not finding. They're looking for him everywhere. Yak chakshusha na pashyati, which eyes cannot see. He has concealed himself in a human form and is running errands for you. Tell me, are others fortunate? What are you saying? Or you? Krishna as Parabrahman is living with you. He is dear to you. He is your cousin. He is your well-wisher. He expects nothing from you. He is your uncle's son. He is your very soul. At times he is your guru. Other times he is your kinsman who works for you. And so on. So Narada, he said, the Munis searched for him everywhere and not finding him there, they came to the earth. They went to Mathura and then to Vrindavan. They then went to Dwaraka and finally they followed him to your house, where he is living as a human being. Even Brahma and Mahadeva are sometimes unable to know the true nature. The rishis worship him with silence, their bhakti and their sannyas, renunciation, and yet they are not able to realize him. They know about him, but they have not seen him. That Brahman is this Krishna. And fortunate indeed is the world since he is walking on it. And fortunate are you and your brothers to have him for yourself. So what are you lamenting about, Prahlada? Okay, now we are going to skip elephant and the crocodile, and how the elephant was liberated. Then we go to another section for this section, and then we'll see. This is the famous Amrita manthana. You will not find a nice, big, beautiful image of Samudra Manthan anywhere in India. You will find it in the Swarna Bhoom airport in Thailand. If you put up Samudra Manthan somewhere in our central airport or secretariat, people will go to the Supreme Court. That is our fate. You enter, have you been to Swarnabhum in Thailand airport? Beautiful. But as usual, all the devas are clean shaven and all the rakshasas. There was war in the high heavens between the devas and the asuras. Star wars. The devas could not stand the fierceness of the attack of the asuras. They were not able to bring back to life many of the devas who were dying in the war. Indra, Varuna and others held a council of war, and they could not find a way out of this predicament. So they approached who? Brahma. When they went to him and said there was only one way to solve the problem, that was to go to Lord Narayana and pray to him. He would help them all. They proceeded to the presence of the Lord. Brahma prayed to him and asked him to take pity on the devas. Narayana appeared before them, and after listening to their words of praise, he said, I know how you can achieve what you want. The first thing to do is, you should make peace with the asuras. We are in need of time to prepare ourselves until you succeed in your new attempts. It's but polite to call for a truce. When the endeavor is for something great, the methods adopted should be as peaceful as possible. My suggestion to you is this. You should obtain Amrita, the elixir which will protect you from death. How many read asterisks? Elixir of life. My suggestion to you is that you should obtain Amrita, the elixir which will protect you from death. It will also bring back to life one who is dead. How are we to get Amrita? Is your next question? Okay. You should churn the ocean with the mountain Mandara as the churning staff, and with Vasuki, the serpent, as the rope. For this churning, you need the powerful arms of the asuras. You cannot do this all by yourself, so make truce first, have peace with the asuras. I will also take part in this churning process. You should strive for the coming of the Amrita out of the ocean. When it is churned, Amrita will come, elixir. I will see to it that you get the entire benefit of the Amrita and not the asuras. But I must give you a word of warning. Do not oppose the asuras in anything. Pretend as though you are willing to fall in with all their suggestions. There is another word of warning. First thing that will be born out of the churning will be the Kalakuta, the dread poison. Do not get frightened. When things are churned, the first thing that comes out is poison. Wait for it to dissipate. Then the Amrita will come. Do not covet any of them and do not ask for them if you feel that the asuras desire them. Your aim is the Amrita and the rest is immaterial. Now go, make peace with Bali, the great asura, and begin your work. The Lord disappeared from their presence and the Devas led by Brahma returned to their abode. Now Bali was the son of Vairochana, who was the son of Prahalada. The Devas led by Indra went to the palace of Bali. The servants of Bali, on seeing the Devas, prepared to attack them. Suddenly they saw the Devas have come into the palace. What the hell? Maybe they came to hurt the chief. But Bali came there and told them that they should abstain from any rash act. Indra was led into the court. The Asura monarch then asked him what he could do to entertain his distinguished guest. Indra, remembering the words of Narayana, spoke softly. His manner was very tactful and his words were persuasive. He told Bali about the proposed churning of the ocean of milk. Here is something which was not known before. Let us not fight, but be friendly for a while, at least till the Amrita comes out. I hope you will cooperate with us and join in the venture. It is a stupendous task which we are undertaking, but the result is so attractive that I feel it's wonderful and worthwhile to make an attempt. Bali welcomed the suggestion and so did his associates Shambhara, Arishtanemi and Tripuras. They decided to forget their enmity for the time being and strive for Amrita together. Everyone was excited. The Asuras plucked the Mandara out of the earth. The Asuras decided to do that job. Mandara is a heavy mountain. He said, brothers, we will pick it up. So they plucked the Mandara out of the earth. And with their mighty arms and the Devas and Asuras together carried it to the seashore. The mountains, however, was too heavy. Mandara was very heavy. So they dropped it on the way. And a number of Devas and Asuras got crushed under it. Before they could recover from the stunning effect of the blow, Narayana appeared. He lifted the mountain and took it off to the ocean. Took it to the shore of the ocean. Devas had already convinced Vasuki that he would be doing a service to the Asuras by becoming the rope that would wind round the mountain during the churning. He was also promised a share of the Amrita when it appeared. The two hosts began to churn the ocean. Narayana was there. He went to the head of Vasuki and grasped it in his hands. The Devas followed the Lord and they also placed their hands on the head of Vasuki. The Asuras were very angry. They felt they were being insulted by this gesture on the part of the Devas, led by the Lord. They thought it beneath their dignity to grasp the tail of Vasu. What is this? They are catching the head, we are giving the tail. The Asuras, who thought highly of themselves, said, "We are learned in the sacred lore of the Vedas. It's not that we are ignorant fellows. And we are famed the world over for the greatness of our deeds and the loftiness of our births. Beneath our dignity to touch the tail of the serpent, when you guys are holding his head, we refuse to assist you in this journey." They stood firm and would not move a step. Lord looked at them and smilingly, sweetly, he relinquished the head of Vasuki and went to the tail of Vasuki. Devas, of course, moved and followed him. The initial misunderstanding was cleared, and the Asuras, feeling happy that they had gained their point, began to chant the mountain along with the Devas. In spite of the many powerful arms which were engaged in the task, the mountain Mandara sank into the ocean again because of its great weight. There was depression in the hearts of the two hosts because of this. Narayana knew that this had happened because they had all ignored Lord Vigneshwara. So he went under the waters and took the form of an immense tortoise, Kurma, lifted the mountain on his back and came up. The Manthana mountains rose out of the water and everybody rejoiced. Only very few knew why it went down and why it had been able to come up again. The Lord went on the top of the mountain and from there he placed his hand so steady to hold it erect. Then he entered the hearts of the Devas and the Asuras. The enthusiasm in the hearts of the churners was the Lord. And ignorance and apathy in the mind of Vasuki was again the Lord. He was the 1,000-armed Lord on top of the mountain. He was the immense tortoise under the mountain. He was the nature of the Asuras and he was the gentleness of the Devas. And he was also the firmness of the Mandara mountain. He pervaded everything and he was here, there and everywhere. The churning went on. After a little bit of Vedanta, we come back to the story. The churning went on and the tempo increased. Pulled powerfully in both the directions, Vasuki could not bear it. He was pulling tail and head. Out of his mouth came fire and poisonous smoke, and the Asuras were greatly afflicted by these since they were at the head of the snake. They could not do anything about it. The Lord took pity on everyone, since the fumes were choking them all. In his infinite kindness, he commanded the rain clouds to collect and cool the air. The rains came, soft cool breeze blew, and still the churning went on. But there was no sign of Amrita. To cheer the toiling hosts who were by now discouraged, the Lord again took part in the churning. Dark as a rain cloud, he stood there with golden silk covering him. The fish-shaped earrings gleamed in his ears like streaks of lightning, now appearing, now vanishing, as he churned steadily with the Devas. His hair strayed to his forehead, and with a toss of his head he would push it back again. The garland on his chest tossed to and fro, and his eyes turned red with exhaustion. His arms, which were the refuge of the entire universe, were now moving up and down as if they were intent only on churning and nothing else. So wonderful was he that it seemed as though there was another mountain on the shore, glowing with its own radiance. The waters of the sea, filled as they were now with the juices of the many medicinal herbs which had been thrown into it for churning, became white like milk. Still no sign of Amrit. What do we do? It was to cheer the disappointed host that the Lord kept on churning. If he had also said, Amrita are not coming, they would have all run away, tired. Churning went on. The fish in the ocean, the sharks, and even the whales were tossed up and down. The churning went on. Suddenly they saw that something was making its appearance on the surface of the ocean. It was the dread poison called Hala. Narayana had already warned the Devas about it. But the poison was so fierce that it was beyond all imagination. It started spreading all over the place. The entire air was foul because of its virulence, and no one could bear its potency. Dropping the snakes they were holding in their hands, the Devas and the Asuras fled from the spot as fast as they could. Devas fell at the feet of Mahadeva and prayed to him, My Lord, you are the Lord of Lords and you are the protector of the universe. They forgot Narayana. You are the Lord of Lords. We are frightened of the poison. Please protect us. Mahadeva was overcome with compassion. He looked at his consort and said, Look at the entire host of Devas and Asuras who are looking to me to save them from the dread poison which is born of the ocean. It is my duty to protect those who trust me. I will therefore swallow this poison and save the frightened supplicants. Mother of the universe smilingly gave her approval. The Lord then took the poison in the palm of his hand and swallowed it. The poison entered his throat and stayed there forever, staining the white neck of the Lord with blue. The stain seemed to enhance the beauty of Mahadeva's neck. It looked like a dark jewel placed on his fair neck. The good and the compassionate take it upon themselves to suffer along with suffering humanity. When a human being emulates the Lord in this manner, his very act is the greatest of worship that can please the Purusha who created the universe. The popular story that when the poison was going down, Parvati held his neck. I don't think it's not mentioned in the Bhagavad. While he was drinking the poison, a small drop slipped from his hand and spilled on the ground from the poison. This was taken by poisonous creatures like snakes, scorpions, and creatures which have poison in their fangs, and some creepers got it on them and were later classified as poison creepers, which are avoided by bees, birds, and beasts. After the poison had been swallowed by Mahadeva, Devas and the Asuras again resumed their chant. There appeared a beautiful cow from it called Kamadhenu. Means one who fulfills your desires. The rishis steeped in the lore of the Vedas and Vedic rites thought it would be useful to them for preparing the sacrificial offerings, the havish. Then came the horse, the great horse, white like the kunda flower. When the white horse, the white ashwa came out, white as a kunda flower, Bali wanted the horse. He saw it beautiful, looked better than an Arabian steed. He said, I want this horse. Indra, remembering the advice of Narayana, did not ask for it. Because he would have gone for it. Let him have it. There then arose out of the ocean a magnificent elephant, vying with Kailasha, the god of Mahadeva, in whiteness. It had 4 tusks and was given to Indra. So since Bali took the horse, Indra took the elephant. It was named Avatar. Then there appeared a beautiful gem by name Kaustuba, which was pinkish red like the lotus. Strangely enough, Narayana said, this I will be. The tree by name Parijata was born, and following it came a crowd of beautiful women. They wore beautiful ornaments made of gold on their necks and arms, and beautiful drapes around their waists. They walked beautifully, and their wanton ways and grace pleased the Devas. They were the Apsaras. And they and the tree Parijat were annexed by Indra. The Asuras were not interested in this. So the Devas took it away. Like a streak of lightning illuminating the hill, Sudama, there appeared out of the sea the glorious figure of Lakshmi. All of them wanted her. Who doesn't want Lakshmi? All of them wanted her. They could not tear their eyes away from her. Indra hurried to place a throne for her to sit. The rivers took forms and brought water for her in pots of gold. Mother Earth brought all her precious herbs to bathe the newcomer. The cows yielded their milk for her. Vasanta, the god of spring, brought her flowers which bloom only in the months of Chaitra and Vaishakha. The rishis gave her the holy bath and the Gandharvas sang her praise. The Gandharva women lined up and danced in front of her. The Diggajas, the elephants in charge of the quarters, brought water in their trunks and poured it on her. The Lord of the Oceans brought pure white silks for her to wear. Varuna brought her a garland by name Vaijayanti, which had been pouring wood. Vishwakarma, the divine architect, brought her curiosity-wrought jewels. Designer. Nothing is new actually. Saraswati gave her a necklace made of pearls. Brahma's gift was a lotus, and the Nagas gave her earrings. Lakshmi had a garland of lotuses in her hands, and she wandered among them with a shy smile hovering on her lips. She looked round to find for herself a husband. Now what will you do if you give all these ornaments and then put all the sense together next? The Yakshas, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Charanas, the Devas, they were all there. Asuras were all there. But she was not pleased with any of them. The rishis were there, and she thought, they have the wealth of tapasya, but they have not conquered anger. As for Guru and Sukra, they have wisdom, but they do not know the meaning of detachment. Chandra is young and handsome, but he has not conquered lust. As for Indra, though he is the Lord of the heavens, he is still not conquered desire. Each one of the gods who are assembled there has something wanting. No one is perfect here except Lord Narayana. He is complete in himself. So much so, he does not even desire me. She looked at Narayana, who had crossed the Trigunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, who was not moved by the passions which affect human beings, who was like a lake unruffled by the passing breeze. She walked up to him, placed the lotus garland on his neck, stood by his side. She didn't know whether to say yes or no, asked. She did the best technique possible. She took the garland, put it on his neck and stayed there. The Lord took her and placed her on his chest. They glowed like a thundercloud with a streak of lightning flashing across it. Then what? Churning was resumed. And there arose the lovely figure of a young girl with eyes like lotuses. Her name was Varuni, the most delightful, the most intoxicating drink. The Asuras took her for themselves. Said, till now we didn't ask for much. Now here comes the costliest whiskey available. Okay. They took her for themselves, Asuras. The churning went on. Suddenly, so if you have the costliest whiskey, must be Asuras. Churning went on. Suddenly, out of the ocean, there arose the form of a divine-looking being. He was dark, and his arms were long and powerful. He was young, with a garland round his neck. His chest was broad. It was Dhanvantari, Lord of Medicine, which is Narayana as another manifestation. He had the golden vessel in his hand with the precious Amrita. He is the one who brought the Amrita. When you say Dhanvantari, people generally remember only Dashamularishta. He's the one who brought the Amrita in a golden vessel. The Asuras dropped Vasuki in a hurry and rushed towards Dhanvantari. They said, what we were looking for has come now. They snatched the vessel from his hands and ran away. Finished. Deva stood stunned at the unexpected turn of events. They fell at the feet of Narayana and he smiled at them and said, I already told you that I will make you the sole possessors of Amrita. Don't get worried, leave it to me. He stood watching the antics of the Asuras. They were running here and there, dancing with joy. There was already a big fight among the Asuras as to who should taste the Amrita first. In that host were also some righteous Asuras who said, this churning of the ocean was performed like an Yajna. The Devas and we undertook the task. It is but right that they should get their share of Amrita. They were of course not heard by the rest of the asuras who surrounded the vessel of gold. In short, while they had gone far away from the shores of the ocean, arguing about who should have the first taste of Amrit. Look, already they have the vessel, right? Full of Amrit. Instead of tasting them, they are fighting among themselves, saying who is going to have the first taste of Amrita. Constant problem. A silence fell on the crowd. Till now they were fighting, but then all of them stopped fighting. All fight went out of their mind. Why? All eyes then turned on someone who was approaching them. It was a woman. Even when you are fighting for Amrit, Asura saw a woman and she was a beautiful woman. They had never seen such a woman before in their lives. Such charm and such beauty had never crossed their eyes before. They had seen eyes before, but not such eyes. They were very dark blue, like the heart of a blue lotus. The woman's form and features were all so perfect that they could not tear their eyes off. All that Amrita was forgotten sitting there. They went near her, crowded around her, and bombarded her with questions. Amrita forgotten. Tell us who you are. Your eyes are more beautiful than lotuses, and your smile has captivated us. We are the all most powerful asuras. We will do anything you ask. Look, we are the sons of Kashyapa. This bowl of gold holds Amrita, and we are fighting over it. We have a solution. Take it in your hands. We leave the decision in your hands as to who should get the first share of the Amrita. You are a stranger, so we hope you will be neutral. Please distribute the Amrita as you think fit. Now what they did not know, the poor asuras, was this tricky man, Narayana. There is one who is quite expert in putting on disguises, stealing things, stealing butter and running away. All these things. Stealing curds from the pot. Now this Narayana, who had assumed the form of Mohini, it was Narayana himself who had become Mohini. How can they find a better woman than that? God himself has become a female. Narayana, who had assumed the form of Mohini for the benefit of the Devas, smiled charmingly at them and said, "Brave sons of Kashyapa, how is it that you have so much confidence in me, who you do not know at all? I am a woman who seems to have pleased you with my looks." Okay. The wise say that one who is really sensible should not have any faith in someone who tries to kindle your lust. They say that such faith is like trusting a wolf. Since it was the truth which Mohini spoke, no one would believe her. Who believes the truth? They laughed at her and placed a vessel of gold in her hands. Mohini took it in her hands and said, "If you are prepared to abide by my decision and accept my actions, whether they are good or bad, I am ready to oblige." So be it, they said. The infatuated asuras, drinking her with their eyes, their thinking power lost, said, Tathastu, so be it. Now, kusha grass was spread on the ground, and the asuras had holy baths and dressed themselves very carefully. They all stood on the kusha grass. By this time, Devas had also arrived. The two hosts stood facing the east. When they had all assembled, Mohini entered with Amrita in her hands. Her hips were covered with white silk, swayed seductively, and the pearls on her neck swayed to and fro, tossing about on her heavy chest. The Devas and the Asuras, lost as they were in the beauty of Mohini, took leave of their senses and sat like dumb asses. Narayana knew it was not right to give Amrita to the Asuras. They were cruel by nature, and giving Amrita to them would be like feeding snakes with milk. It would only enhance the virulence of the poison in them. He therefore seated the Devas and the Asuras in two different groups. Taking the golden vessel in her hand, Mohini walked in their midst. Her smiles, her loving glances, her lisping words were all for the Asuras. But her hand was letting out the Amrita only to the Devas. Because of the spell she had cast on them, the Asuras never realized that this was happening and they were not getting the share of the Amrita. After a while, a semblance of consciousness was dawning in their minds, and still they were unwilling to censure the lovely women of their choice, and so they were silent. There were some who thought to themselves, these devas are indeed without any feeling of beauty. They cannot appreciate the beauty of a woman. They are so greedy. And they think only of Amrit. Asuras, imagine. Sometimes you hear this in drawing rooms. So, these devas are indeed without any feeling of beauty. They cannot appreciate the beauty of this woman. They are so greedy that they think only of Amrit. Well, let them take their share first. Surely she loves us and she will not cheat us. One Asura, however, was alert. He was Rahu. He was watching the behavior of Mohini and he saw that they are not going to get anything. As far as the Amrita was concerned, quickly assumed the form of a deva and sat between the sun and the moon. He held out the hand for the Amrita. Mohini filled his palm and he quaffed it. The next moment, Surya and Chandra together made signs to her. And Narayana recognized the impostor. The Lord at once took out the chakra out of thin air and cut off his head. He had swallowed Amrita, so he could not die. His body, which had not absorbed Amrita, fell down senseless, but his head was alive. Brahma honored Rahu by making him one of the planets. As a punishment for the sun and moon, the planet Rahu was allowed to swallow them during certain times, and they are said to be eclipsed by the Graha Rahu. This is said to be a moral lesson for children not to carry tales about others. says the Bhagavad. When he saw that the Devas had been served with Amrita, the Lord abandoned the guise of Mohini and resumed his natural appearance. This incident of the churning of the ocean must be pondered over and meditated upon. Devas and Asuras are both working towards the same end, Amrita, finding of Amrita. But both work strenuously and equally sincerely towards this end. They both pulled the mountain Mandara with the snake Vasuki as the rope. They made equal efforts. As a matter of fact, the Asuras put in more work because they had more powerful arms. As for the result, however, the Devas enjoyed the benefit while the efforts of the Asuras were wasted. This was because the Devas had surrendered themselves to the Lord. They had taken the dust at the feet of the Lord, and their labor was rewarded. Men of the world, when they strain their minds, their riches, their actions and other similar things towards benefiting themselves, their children, their homes and their personal happiness, their actions become all futile, like watering the branches of a tree to make it live. If, however, one does the same things, dedicating the actions to the Lord, it will be then like watering the roots of a tree, and man's actions will never be fruitless in such cases. Self-surrender, saranagati, is the highest form of devotion. Om Narayana. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Krishna Govinda Hari Raj. Continuation, the morning Bhagavat. So the Samudra Manthan was over. Devas took the Amrita. Asuras were upset. And the war resumed. When Narayana assumed his natural form, the Asuras were dumbfounded by the calamity that had undertaken them. Before they could think, the Lord vanished from their sight. They were startled into action. They rushed towards the Devas and the battle started. Many duels were fought. The most spectacular was between Indra and Bali. Bali was the head of the Asuras. Now, here also, Lord Narayana had to intervene when he found that Indra was going to lose. But Bali was undaunted. He attacked Narayana himself with his many weapons. Indra then challenged Bali for a duel. He said, "You fool, like a conjurer who took resort to your Maya tactics, can you not see how futile your powers are? Look at my Vajra. I'm going to smash you into 1,000 pieces. Prepare yourself for death." Bali looked at him with a slow smile and said in a low voice, "Men who have been propelled towards fighting, who have been goaded by time and again as the result of their actions, they all pursue this particular line of action. It is not in your hands to decide what is going to happen. The wise know that it is all because of Kala. So then neither they rejoice nor they mourn. Such wisdom has never been your heritage. Bali is lecturing to Indra. You confuse your Atman with the Deha who enjoys fame and victory. So you have nothing but eternal sorrow and dissatisfaction. Foolish as you are, you think your foul words will hurt me? I do not listen to such words. They are treated with the contempt that they deserve. Indra's anger knew no bounds when he heard this. Also it hurt because they were true, every one of them. And they hurt him and angered him all the more. He hurled his Vajra at Bali, which lifted Bali off the ground. The friends of Bali hurried to the spot and took him away from there. Few moments later he came back again. Namuchi was a powerful asura. He attacked Indra with his powerful arrows. They fought for a long time. Finally, he was defeated. There was a rain of flowers from the heavens, since there was a great achievement on the part of Indra. The fight threatened to continue, but Narada, the son of Brahma, came up to them and said, "You wanted Amrita. By the grace of Narayana, whom you choose as your refuge, because you did that, you got it. Lakshmi, the consort of the Lord, is on your side. Why are you fighting? Desist from this fight and go back to your abode." Devas agreed to do so, and they went back. The asuras also had to agree because it was a truce. Crestfallen though they went back. Bali, the lord of the asuras, was robbed of all his wealth and all his glory because of Indra. Large-hearted as he was, he did not grieve for himself and his inglorious defeat in the war. He owed his life to the sons of the Bhrigu house. He went to Shukracharya, the Bhargava, and surrendered to him and said, "Sir, you are my Guru, my Savior. I am ready to do what you ask me to do. I know that there is never a Guru who will abandon a disciple who comes to him for succor." Bhargavas knew the desire in the heart of Bali, his desire to conquer the heavens. In anticipation of that, they gave him the coronation bath called the Mahabhisheka and said, "We will perform for your Yajna, which will grant you what you desire." They decided to make Bali powerful enough to fight Indra and conquer the heavens. They anointed him and made him perform the Yajna by name Vishwajit. The fire was worshipped with sacred havish and incantations. Out of the glowing fire arose a golden chariot. The horses were like those of Indra, and the flagstaff was decorated with a lion. Inside the chariot was placed a bow with gold inlay and a quiver which should never be empty, and a divine armor. When this chariot came out of the fire, Lord Brahma came to the presence of Bali and gave him a garland of flowers. Sukra, his preceptor, gave Bali a conch. Bali made pradikshana to all those who made this miracle happen. Bali's days of eclipse were at an end, and he looked his old, happy self now. He looked more glorious, more handsome because of the power that he had acquired. He collected an immense army and went towards the city of Indra. Seated in the golden chariot, wearing the divine armor, etc. His army which went with him caused fear in the hearts of the beholders. Bali ascended the chariot made of gold and proceeded towards Amravati, huge city of Indra, Amravati. Bali proceeded toward this Amravati with the intention of conquering the city after defeating Indra. When he arrived at the gates of Amravati, Bali blew lustily on his conch. Indra saw Bali and saw the golden chariot and his bow and the quiver. He saw the immense army which looked formidable. Indra did not take long to realize what the result of encounter with Bali was going to be. He rushed to his Guru Brihaspati and said, "My Lord, our ancient enemy has come back again, looking for a fight. Tell me, what makes him so powerful? Why has he become invincible? He is powerful physically, morally and spiritually. He seems to glow like fire. What makes him so glorious? I am curious to know." Brihaspati said, "He owes his greatness to his Guru. Shukracharya has made his power increase. As a matter of fact, no one will be able to stand up to Bali except Narayana. I advise you to let discretion govern your actions. Don't oppose him now. It will be futile. Time is against you. Best thing will be for you and the other devatas to abandon Amravati and leave it for him to occupy." In course of time, Bali, who owes his greatness to the favor of Bhargava, will be deprived of his glory because of the same Guru and his anger. For the present, best course, run away from here. Indra looked shocked. "Abandon Amravati," he said. "How can I leave my beloved Amravati into the hands of the enemy? I will fight and see what happens. We are not powerless, we are devas. I will not abandon Amravati." Brihaspati convinced him that the only thing to do was to abandon the city, or else there would be unnecessary havoc. Finally, Indra was convinced, and according to the advice given by the Guru, Devas fled from the city of Amravati. Bali found that the city became his without any fighting. He smiled with contempt at the cowardice of the Devas. He didn't know that they were advised to go. He established himself and ruled the world from the heavens. He became Lord of all the three worlds. There was nothing left for him to conquer. His Guru told him that he could now perform the Ashwamedha. Bali performed 100 Ashwamedhas. His fame spread all over the world like the beams of the moon. His goodness, his generosity, and his many qualities of head and heart became known the world over. Now what happened? Aditi, the mother of Indra and the other gods, was very unhappy since her sons had been vanquished by Bali. Once Kashyapa had been away from the ashram for a long time. He had been engaged in intense samadhi. When he completed it, he came back to the ashrama Aditi received him with due honor and stood by his side. He looked at her and her pale face. He asked her, "What is worrying you? You do not seem to be happy. Has any calamity overtaken you or the world? Has dharma been banished from the minds of men? Have you by any chance inadvertently insulted any guests, as a result of which they have gone away without accepting your hospitality? What has happened? Are your sons well? Looking at you, I can see that you are greatly pained at something. Tell me what it is." Aditi lifted her downcast eyes. They were filled with tears. She said, "My Lord, nothing dreadful has happened as you fear. There has been no mishap in the ashrama, nor there has been any lapse of dharma, as far as my behavior is concerned. The pain that is eating into my vitals is an account of my children. My sons have been ill-treated by Bali. The asuras have driven the devas from their city and have taken all their glory and wealth to themselves. My children are homeless and without any hope of regaining their lost glory. Have mercy on me and my sons and help us in our calamity." Kashyapa Prajapati smiled gently at her and said, "Indeed, the Maya of the Lord is amazing. The entire world is under bondage because of the ties of affection. That is a wonderful thing about this Vishnu Maya. Or else, what connection is there between this body, made up of 5 elements, and with the Atman, which is a thing apart? Which is different from Prakriti? Who is the husband of whom and who is the son of whom? Maya it is, which makes you think of such things as I and mine." I am the mother of these sons. I am unhappy because they are unhappy. What Vishnu Maya is this? He paused for a while, and then looking kindly at her, he said, "The only path open to you is to worship the Lord Narayana, who dwells in the hearts of all. He has been compassionate towards those who love Him, and He will grant you your desire. Pray to Him, worship Him." She looked up at him and said, "I do not know the methods by which the Lord has to be worshipped. Great beings have performed tapasya for years and years to please Him, and they are still performing tapasya. I, a woman looking after the household, how can I do that? Tell me about an easier method by which an ignorant woman like me can find favor in the eyes of the Lord." Kashyapa said, "There is a vrata by name Payovrata. Brahma once taught me this vrata. In the month of Falguna, from the 1st to the 12th day of the brighter fortnight, you should worship Narayana day and night, taking only milk as your food. Vegans cannot practice this. Recite the mantra with the 12 letters, the great Dvadashanama. What is the great Dvadashanama? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If you observe this vrata with intense devotion and concentration, the Lord will grant you your wishes." Aditi performed the Payovrata. Her mind was stilled and her senses were kept under control. Her thoughts were all lost in the feet of Narayana. At the end of 12 days, very strong vrita, at the end of 12 days, the Lord appeared before her. She stood up. She fell at his feet again and then stood in his presence, tears running down her eyes. She could not speak a word. She was herself surprised. In 12 days it is possible. Then she said, I do not know how to praise you. I have not the art nor the learning to understand you. But this I know. You are kind and you are compassionate. I am your slave. I am in pain. Take pity on me. The Lord looked kindly at her with lotus eyes and said, Mother of gods, you do not have to tell me what is paining you. I know that your sons are at the mercy of the asuras. I don't know if you remember Milpitas once. Somebody wrote to me asking for a subject for the talk in California. As an exclamation, I said, Holy Mother of God, and sent it off. I was just thinking what to say, so I said, Holy Mother of God. And so they published it, saying, today's subject in Milpitas, Holy Mother of God. So anyway, Mother of Gods, you do not have to tell me what is paining you. I know that your sons are at the mercy of the asuras. You want to see your sons back in power? I know that. All that will come. But you have to wait. The time is not yet ripe for it. At the moment, Bali's star is in the ascent because he has Sukra as his guru, as also Shukra's disciples. The glory of Shukracharya is such that his protege Bali will not come to harm. However, I am pleased with your vrita and I will grant you your wish. Narayana said, I will be born as your son. Then I will be able to help your sons. Do not breathe a word of this to anyone, since my birth will have to be a Deva Rahasya, great godly secret. Don't tell anybody. Lord then vanished from sight. Kashyapa, with his yogic powers, knew what was going to happen. He was happy because his wife was happy. A son was born to Aditi. When the child was born, it had the form of the Lord, just as Aditi had seen it. As though he wanted to assure her that it was he indeed. A moment later, he assumed the form of a child, normal child. And there was great rejoicing in the three worlds. It was the month of Bhadrapada, Shukla Paksha, Dwadashi, and Abhijit was the star under which the child was born. In later days, the Dwadashi was celebrated as Vijay Dwadashi. This Dwadashi became Vijaya Dwadashi. The child grew up to be a boy, a small maid, and he was indeed a Vamana. He was growing, but he was still small. When the time came and Upanayana was performed, when the sacred thread was given to him, Surya taught him the Gayatri. Brihaspati, the preceptor of the gods, gave him the sacred thread, and Kashyapa gave him the Mohanji. The earth gave him the Krishnajina, deer skin. Krishnajina means the deer skin because it is dark in color. The moon gave him the Brahman's staff, the Brahmadanda. Aditi gave him the kaupin. Kaupin is a single piece of cloth, best in summer, loin cloth. And Durloka world presented him with an umbrella. Brahma, who held the Vedas inside him, gave him a kamandalu. And the 7 great rishis gave him a bundle of kusha grass. Saraswati gave him the akshamala. Kubera granted him the vessel with which to collect his alms. Parvati, the consort of Mahadeva, who goes by the name of Annapurna, gave the child his first bhiksha. Vamana's other name was Upendra. Now, when a young child at the age of 8 is given the Janu and initiated into the Gayatri, he is supposed to have become a brahmachari, and therefore he has to go and beg for his food. Traditionally, the dharma of a brahmana is not to work for his living, but live in alms given by others. No brahmana will touch a plough, somebody else will plough and he will get the food when required. That is the traditional rule. So when he was given the Yajna Upavita, he had to go and beg for food as a young brahmachari. So Kubera, therefore, the Lord of Wealth, presented him with a vessel to collect his bhiksha, alms. Parvati, the consort of Mahadeva, who goes by the name of Annapurna, gave the child Vamana his first bhiksha. Vamana's other name was Upendra. Now, on the holy grounds of Bhrigu Kacha, the Asura monarch Bali was performing the Ashwamedha. Sitting in the grounds of Bhrigu Kacha, Asura monarch Bali was performing the Ashwamedha under the direct guidance of Shukracharya and his Bhrigu clan. Vamana decided to go there and attend the yaga. Bhrigu Kacha was on the northern banks of the sacred river Narmada. You must remember that Narayana told Upendra's mother that I have to somehow vanquish this Bali because of the crime of driving away all the devas from Amaravati. So I will do it in my own way. So he was born as Vamana in womb, and this little Vamana with his umbrella and his kamandalu and his danda decided to go and attend the yajna. The yaga was proceeding. Suddenly, to be a great glow coming from somewhere. So they thought maybe it's coming from the yajna. They all looked around. The glow seemed to be moving towards them. They all paused. and spoke to themselves. It seems as though the rising sun is walking towards us. They all looked at the tiny little Brahmana child with a kamandalu, with a stick and everything, umbrella, walking towards them. Is it the sun which has become this diminutive form? To watch this yaga in person, they asked themselves. Is it the Lord of Fire who has come to bless us? Or is it Sanat Kumara, the son of Brahma, who has deigned to sanctify the Yagashala by his presence? They were trying to figure out who is this little fellow who has come here. Even as they were conjecturing as to who he was, Vamana walked into the Yajna. His tiny chest covered by the monji, with the sacred thread glowing like a streak of lightning across his chest, with his head covered by a charming jata, with a kamandalu in one hand and umbrella in the other, the tiny little fellow stood there, looked at everybody. The entire assembly stood up as one man. So great was the glory of the boy, who was hardly a child. Bali rushed to his presence, fell at his feet, honored him and offered him a noble seat. He washed the tiny feet of the young Brahmin and placed the water on his head. He then said, "Welcome to you, my lord, whoever you are." I don't know who you are, but this I know, you have come here to bless me and to grace this Yajna. To me, you look like the tapas of all the Brahma Rishis taken collectively and given a form. By your coming, I have been blessed, and so have my forefathers. My life is now made pure because of you. By placing the water of your feet on my head, I feel that I have become purified. Tell me, what can I do for you? Great souls like you bless their devotees for favors. This is the privilege of a Brahmin and the good fortune of a Kshatriya that he can grant it. So tell me, what can I give you? Can I give you the earth, or gold, or houses? Shall I give you beautiful maidens? Or shall I give you horses or elephants or cows? Please command me, honor me by accepting a gift from me. The little boy smiled sweetly on Bali and said, "It is right that you should speak these words which are so full of humility, nobility and righteousness. I am not surprised. The great Shukracharya and the Bhrigus are your acharyas. And I know your ancestors. Your grandfather was the great Prahalada. Your father Vairocana was famed for giving. In your family there never was born one who has ever refused anything to those who came with a desire. None has refused anything to those who come for alms. Nor has there been any instance of a promise one is given being broken. None was refused anything to those who came for alms. Hiranya, who was your ancestor, had but one weapon in his hand, and that was the mace, the gada. With the help of this, he had conquered all the three worlds, and he was unhappy that he could not find one powerful enough to fight with him. When Narayana, in the form of a Varaha, met him in a fight, when he was carrying the earth to the surface from Rasatala, when Varaha was challenged by Hiranyaksha, Hiranyaksha fought with Varaha and was killed. Believe me, the Lord was not happy about it at all because he remembered the prowess of Hiranya and felt he was not a conqueror at all. Then what happened? Hiranyakashipu, when he heard that his brother was killed, rushed to Vaikunta to kill Narayana. Looking at him with his trident upraised, Narayana thought to himself, wherever I go, this Hiranya is sure to chase me. And incidentally, he will destroy all the spots I came to dwell. His eyes, his mind, his thoughts are all turned towards so. I will enter his mind. Accordingly, when he inhaled, Hiranya inhaled the Lord also, who had assumed the form of the tiniest of tiny particles. Hatred for the Lord is more intense than love for the Lord. And because of this hatred, because of his thinking on him day and night, Hiranyakashipu attained death at the hands of the Lord. As for Vairochana, your father, has there been a giver as great as he? Once the Devas came to him as beggars, assuming the form of Brahmins. Even though he knew that they were Devas, he gave them his very life, since they asked for it. And it was his rule in life never to refuse alms to anybody. Born as you are in such an illustrious family, what's all coming to? Is it a wonder that you are so righteous? I will certainly ask a boon of you, and I know that you will grant it to me. I want from you a very small thing. 3 paces of ground measured by my tiny foot. But 3 times when I place my feet, you see how small they are? I want only that much earth. That's all I ask for. Ground measured by my feet. Bali was amazed. He stood speechless for a while. Then with a tender smile lighting up his face, he said, "Indeed you are a child. You spoke words of wisdom and they pleased the wise, but I'm afraid you are still a child. Your behavior is so childish because you do not know what is good for you. You seem to be ignorant of what is good for you, what is advantageous. Look at me. I am the sole lord of the entire world. I don't know why Bali comes only to Kerala during Onam. He says he is the ruler of the whole world. I think Malayalis invented it. Okay, anyway. So, Bali was amazed. He stood speechless for a moment and gave all that lecture. Once you ask only for 3 paces of ground measured by those tiny feet. Once I give, there will be no need for you to desire anything more at any time. Revise your words. Take from me land large enough to keep you in comfort through your life. Ask me. Vamana said, I appreciate your words and your generous gesture, O king. Believe me, if a man has not conquered desire, all the desirable things in the world will not be enough to satisfy him. A man who is not satisfied with 3 paces of land will not find the 7 islands with all their wealth enough to satisfy. We have been told that the lords of the 7 islands have not attained the state when they can say, I have enough. It's never enough for anybody. Right? Is it enough? Anything enough? Unless you are bored of the Bhagavat, this is enough. Anyway, nothing is enough. A man who is pleased with what he gets is always happy. But the man who is swayed by the wanderings of the mind will never find happiness, since he is always discontented. It is this discontent which is the cause of sorrow in man. A contented person is fit for emancipation and his glory grows day by day. But you are the greatest of givers. You are the Dhuni Samrat. I therefore ask you to grant me just 3 pieces of ground which will be covered by my feet. Bali laughed again. Smiling indulgently, he said, so be it. I will grant you 3 paces of ground measured with your tiny foot. And he looked at the tiny lotus feet of the Lord in the form of Vamana. With a smile hovering still on his lips, Bali took up the vessel full of water to pour a few drops on it on the lotus palm of the youngster and say, that is the promise. Once this is done, I have given you what you asked for. Sukra, the guru of the Asuras, stopped him. Without speaking a word, the king lifted his eyes and there was a questioning look on his face. You look like what Shiva told Parvati in Kedarkand. You don't know who this fellow is, eh? Sukra was the wisest of wise men. He was known by the name Kavi. There were some who said that he was even wiser than Brihaspati, the preceptor of Indra. Sukra loved the Daityas and Bali was his favored disciple. He did not want Bali to be deceived. He looked kindly at the king and said, my son, you do not know what you are doing. This sweet young boy, who according to you is still a child, who does not know what is good for him, is not what you think he is. He is the Lord Narayana himself. He is set on helping the Devas and so is born as the son of Kashyapa and Aditi. You are at heart a very simple person. You have been very rash in promising to grant a boon to this youngster. It's not going to be a simple boon. I know that it will only spell destruction to you and the Asura clan. And injustice is being contemplated. I do not think you should be a victim of this. This Narayana, who is standing before you, is going to deprive you of all your wealth. You will lose all that you have, your power will be snatched from you and your glory. It will all be swallowed by the Devas, thanks to their Lord, their champion Narayana. Indeed, my son, you are a fool. After giving away all that you possess, where will you live? You will have no place even to stand. This child has asked for 3 paces of ground measured by his small lotus feet. Are you not aware that 1 foot of the Lord will measure the entire earth? second will cover the world of gods, where will his foot be placed a third time? Can you not see that he will place it on your head and push you down to the netherworld? It stands to reason that you are not in a position to grant the boon to him. I know the problem that is worrying you. You have promised him something and it is not dharma to take it back. I grant that. The subject has been well discussed in the Rig Veda. I will explain it to you. To say I will give is speaking the truth. After saying that, if one says I will not, then an untruth is spoken. Truth is considered to be the flower and the fruit born of the tree named speech. One who speaks the truth will be famed for his goodness. He is, after all, the tree which grants such beautiful flowers and fruits. Untruth, on the other hand, strikes at the root of words. A tree which has been uprooted, whose roots are visible to the naked eye, it will dry up in no time and fall to the ground. Even so, a man who speaks an untruth will make his Atman rootless, infirm, and his body will fall to the ground. So man should never think of untruth, speaking the untruth. But an untruth is allowed under certain circumstances. I am quoting from the Rig Veda. Under special circumstances, like when a man has to coax a woman to listen to him. This is from the Rig Veda. I am not saying it, please. Don't do anything to me. Under special circumstances, when a man has to coax a woman to listen to him, untruth is allowed. When he is joking, when a marriage is to be performed, praising the qualities of the young man or woman and exaggerating them, allowed. When one's life is in danger, allowed. When the intention is to do good to cows or to the wise brahmanas or to save the life of someone in danger, allowed. Under these circumstances, the Rig Veda allows a man to speak an untruth. When this boon you have granted is sure to destroy you, you are perfectly justified in taking back your word. No sin will be ascribed to you. I am telling you that the only course open to you is to refuse. Bali listened to his guru with great attention. He was silent for a long moment. He then said, I am quite convinced by your argument that one need not have any qualms about refusing to grant a boon which will endanger one's security. But my Lord, look at me. I am not like ordinary human beings to whom worldly security is important. I am not like that. I am the son of Vairochana, and my grandfather was Prahlada. Being a scion of that noble race, how can I do what you ask me to do? Can I even consider it for a moment? Isn't it shameful? If I listen to you, I will have to behave like an ordinary man who is unwilling to part with his wealth. Again and again it has been proclaimed that there is nothing more heinous than untruth. Deceiving the wise Brahmin is the greatest calamity that can visit me. I am not so afraid of hell or poverty or sorrow or loss of position or even death. But I am afraid of infamy. I don't like to be told, this is the man who gave his word and took it back. This I can't bear that. Anything else, I don't care. Wealth and position stay with one as long as he lives. Once he is dead, what is the meaning? Why then should they be important when he is alive? When you say that life is in danger and so a lie is justified, to me it does not seem to be such an important issue. I prefer to please him. Consider great souls like Dadichi and Shibi. They didn't think of themselves when they gave. Think of my father whose name is still remembered because he was a giver, not because he was a king. This kingdom of mine has been ruled by great asuras who have never known what defeat is. They are all gone, every one of them. But their fame is still perfuming the earth. It's easy enough to find heroes who have died fighting. But it's rare to find a person who has had the good fortune to give wealth to a deserving person. Poverty which follows a gift will indeed be desirable. Even if a man is just an ordinary poor man, it is good when the recipient is a great Brahmin of your class. To give them poverty itself will be an ornament to me and to my name. I have decided to grant the boon to this young man. If you say he is Lord Narayana himself, who is asking me to grant him the boon, I am all the more excited at the thought of giving it to him. His hand will be underneath mine. Can anything be a greater good fortune than that? Granted that this request is unfair, that is not in any way going to affect or alter my decision. I will grant him the 3 paces of ground he asked for. It's not as if Bali was cheated. Many people think, right? This little fellow king. Sukra has already told him, this is what is going to happen, man. He says, I don't care. I'm going to keep my promise. Sukra was highly insulted by Bali. He was angry. He was the guru, and Bali had not obeyed him. In a fit of anger, Sukra cursed Bali and said, you seem to think that you are wiser than me. You are really an ignorant man. You are lacking in respect to elders since you choose to ignore my words. You will soon find yourself without a kingdom. I curse you that your glory and your success and the wealth will leave you and you will fall from grace. This did not affect Bali. He called for his wife, Vindhyavali. She brought the golden vessel in her hand, the vessel which held purified water. Bali and his wife sat at the feet of Vamana and washed his feet and put the water on their heads. The heavens rained flowers. The sky was filled with the music from heavenly instruments. The Gandharvas began to dance and the Kinnaras were singing. Flowers were falling on Bali incessantly. The gift had been given and received. Bali lifted his eyes and looked at Vamana. Even as he was looking, the small boy grew to immense proportions. Bali looked with tears of joy at the Vishwarupa of Narayana, he was not afraid or worried. He was joyous that I am seeing the Virata Purusha. He was granted the privilege of seeing the form of Virata Purusha. He saw the universe which is formed of the Mahabhutas. He saw the Prajapatis and the Asuras, and so on and so forth. The Lord was glowing with his crown jewels gleaming. The immense form of the Lord reached the heavens. Narayana with one foot covered the earth which belonged to Bali. His frame filled the skies and his arms spread wide enveloped the quarters. The second phase, only a part of heaven was visible. He raised his foot and it reached the Mahaloka. Passing it, he went to Janaloka, Satyaloka, Dhyurloka. Brahma, who was in Satyaloka, went with great excitement near the foot of the Lord. The gleam from the nails was like the soft light of the moon. Lord Brahma performed puja at the foot of the Lord with the water from his kamandalu, and the water which fell to the foot of the Lord flowed as the river Mandakini, purifying all the spots she touched. On the earth, when she was brought later, she became known as the Ganga. The Lord measured the entire earth and the heavens too. He resumed the form of Vamana and stood there smiling after having done the trick. The Asuras saw their master robbed of all his wealth and his kingdom. They said, let's fight this Vamana. They thought they could fight with Vamana and destroy him. They rushed towards him. Attendants of Vishnu who were there prepared themselves to fight. Bali saw all this and he became very upset with his attendants and he said, listen to my words, abandon this resolve to fight. Evidently the time is not favorable to us. Time is the Lord himself, and according to him and his wish, one is granted happiness and sorrow. And he said, do not fight, it is futile. Garuda was standing by the side of the Lord. He stole one glance at his master and then, with the Varuna Pasha, he tied up Bali. There were shouts of indignation from the crowd in the palace. Bali smiled to himself. He knew why this has happened. Narayana wanted him to be rid of the dread sins which had found a place in his heart, the twins of I and mine. When he had said, I can give you the entire earth to you, it is mine. So Bali knew what was happening. He said, my arrogance, I said, the earth is all mine, I will give it to you. That was my problem. He realized. He looked at Vamana. When he saw the love and grace there, Bali knew that he was wrong. The Lord had come to bless him by asking the boon. He had taken away all that he had, and with it went the mine, which had also vanished, mine. The Lord now wanted to let the world know that only by surrender can one lose I. That was why it asked Garuda to bind him. The Lord then looked at Bali, who was now a captive, who had lost all because he could not move from the truth. So if you don't move from the truth, sometimes one can lose everything, but find the Lord. And Narayana said, You are the king of the asuras, and you promised me ground which will be covered by 3 paces of my foot. 2 of them, as you have seen, have been covered. They are mine. But there is still 1 pace left. Where will I put thy foot on? There is no heaven, there is no earth, it is all covered. Still the 3rd foot, where do I put this? Tell me. You have not kept your word. You know what the punishment is for one who speaks an untruth. You have to be pushed into another world. Your guru already told you. Bali was neither frightened nor hurt by the words of Vamana. He smiled and said, Lord, I do not consider my word to be lies. There is still 1 place to keep your 3rd foot. Please be gracious enough to place your foot on my head. I am not afraid of Naraka, but I am afraid of being called a sinner. I am not afraid of these bonds which have tied me. I am not afraid of poverty and eternal sorrow. Punishment which is meted out to man by one who is dear to him like a mother. You have opened my inner eye. You are the friend of all of us and not an enemy. You love my grandfather, Prahlada, and so on and so forth. I am the most fortunate one. Place your foot on my head. At that moment, Prahalada, the grandfather of Bali, came. Because he was the beloved Bhakta of Narayana. Bali wanted to fall at his feet and honor him, but he could not, since he was bound by the Varuna Pasha. Welcomed him and worshipped him with tears. Prahalada went straight to Vamana and fell at his feet. With his tears he washed the feet of the Lord. Brahma came and said, do not distress Vindhyavali any longer. Release Bali from his bonds. He has given you all he had. Narayana said, when I want to destroy someone, I grant him all the wealth and power in the world. He then gets involved in them and forgets his real nature. If, however, I desire to save one from this Maya, I take away all his wealth, his all. Rid of all his faults, he becomes mine. Once he is saved, my bhakta will never be destroyed. As for Bali, never once he moved from the path of truth. He has conquered Maya. He has suffered so much. He has lost everything. His guru has cursed him. Yet in his firmness for the truth, he stays in this path. I spoke such deceptive words. His guru spoke so many truths from the Vedas, but he did not listen. Bali has now attained a state which is to be envied by the Devas. No more is he an asura that way. Blessed by me, he will be the Indra during the next manvantara by the name Savarni. That manvantara has not come. He will stay till all time in Sutala, which is dear to me. Bali, king of men, you will now go to Sutala. I will be there with you to protect you. I will be always there with you. All your asuric nature will vanish soon. Bali was so overcome that he could not talk. His eyes were raining tears and his words were buried in his throat, which was too full of tears. After a while he composed himself and said, my Lord, you came to me and asked for a gift. I was so absorbed and so intent in granting it to you that my mind did not think of saluting you properly. I made only one attempt at prostrating to you. Even that small effort has granted me infinite grace. What have you done? You have placed your blessed feet on the head of this contemptible Bali, who was blinded by his power and wealth. How can I praise your kindness? So Bali was released from the Varuna Pasha. He walked round Rudra, Narayana and Brahma, and he entered Chutala Loka. That's it. Finished. Now, I am not going to do this because there is Matsya Avatara, which is the beginning. But I will go to the vision seen by Markandeya. On the banks of the river Pushpabhadra, in the ashrama built for himself on the rock, Chitra, name of the rock, Markandeya spent his time in prayer, in meditation, and in remembering the glorious day when the Lord had appeared before him in the form of Narayana. He saw the Lord and only the Lord in everything, and be so absorbed that he would even forget his daily worship and even forgot his daily rituals. One day, all of a sudden, a strong wind began to blow. It was a fierce storm, and with it came heavy rain clouds. Thunder crashed, began to rain. It was no ordinary rain. The four seas were filling up, and soon they were about to meet. The earth was hidden, and all that could be seen was an immense sea lion. Sharks and whales and crocodiles waded along. There were whirlpools everywhere, and they were sucking up all that came. Even as Markandeya saw the earth disappear in the waters of the ocean, he was frightened at the sight. Very soon, the highlands and the mountains also went under the water. The line which divided the sky from the earth was not seen, since the earth was not there. All of a sudden, so what happened? He also floated off into the ocean, nothing was there. All of a sudden, while he was thus floating, Markandeya saw a beautiful Ashwatha tree at a distance in the sea. He could see the burden of the new leaves on the branch. It was a big tree. One of the branches leaned towards the spot where he was. On a leaf of the Ashwatha tree, the rishi saw a strange sight. He saw a child sleeping on the leaf of the Ashwatha. The glow from the child was so great that it pierced the blinding darkness around. And the child was also dark like an emerald. The face was beautiful like a lotus. The neck was lovely like a conch. The child had a white chest and his nose was chiseled. The curls from his head fell on his face and his breath played softly with them. The ears, like shells, were wearing the flowers of the pomegranate. There was a slight smile on the coral lips of the child. With his tender hands, the child took hold of his foot and placed the lotus-like thumb in his lips and was sucking it ecstatically. Markandeya saw the child and he could not take his eyes away from the heap of beauty which met his eyes. When he saw the child, the rishi found that all his fatigue had left him. His eyes were wide open, drinking in the beauty of the child, and his heart was filled with joy. He felt within himself who the child was. Still, he went near to see the child at close range. When he went too close to the child, he found that the breath of the child was pulling him. Markandeya entered the child's body along with his breath, like a mosquito. When he was inside, I didn't invent that word. When he was inside, the rishi found the world as it was before the rains came. Amazed at the sight, Markandeya kept looking around. He saw the entire earth. He saw the heavens and the sky. The mountains were there. He saw the asuras and the devas. He saw the forest. The Ashwatha tree vanished. No. Suddenly, he was thrown out by an expiration from the child. And he found himself on the waters once again. He could still see the child, and drawn towards it, he swam towards it to embrace it. The child vanished. The Ashwatha tree vanished, and the waters and the tossing waves vanished. Markandeya found that he was on firm land, on the firm floor of his own ashrama. Mahadeva and Parvati were passing by on the sky, surrounded by the Pramataguna. They descended on the earth and appeared before Markandeya. Thrilled with their visit, he welcomed them with all the honor due to them. Flowers and incense welcomed them all, and he fell at their feet and offered words of prayer to them. Mahadeva then spoke to him. He said, "Because of your devotion to Narayana, you have obtained siddhi in everything. You have been granted a boon by the Lord that you were granted the privilege of knowing His Maya. You will live forever. You will be famed as Purana Acharya." Purana Acharya means what? Not Acharya from the Puranas, old Acharya from the beginning. Mahadeva and his companion returned to the skies, and the Rishi Markandeya spent all his time thinking again and again of the unique experience that he had, the great deluge and the beautiful child lying on the Ashwatha leaf. Section 108, I skipped a few. Sagara and his sons. In the line of Ikshvaku was born a king by name Bahuka. When his land had been taken by force by his enemies, Bahuka went to the forest, and with him went his wife. The king died when he was in the forest. When he died, his grief-stricken wife was about to enter the fire to end her life, but she was stopped from doing so by the rishis since she was with child. She was pregnant. So the rishi said, "You are responsible for your life. What about the kid inside?" The other wives of the king did not like this news at all. They did not like her since she had the good fortune which had been denied to them. Why? They did not like her to be the mother of the future king. Therefore, they mixed poison with the food she was wont to eat, and with great affection fed her with it. आज बड़ी अच्छी खीर बनी है, ले लो. But contrary to their expectations, nothing happened either to the mother or to the unborn child. The child, when it was born, was covered by the poison which his mother had swallowed. So the rishis called him Sagara. Sagara became a famous king and he later became the emperor. And he wanted to perform the yaga by name Ashwamedha. The horse meant for the sacrifice had been sent out. Now in Ashwamedha, the horse is sent out to travel over the world. Whoever conquers the horse can take it and do their own Ashwamedha. If it comes back, then the king does the Ashwamedha. Now he sent the horse out. Indra was watching. As was his usual custom, he stole the horse. He has stolen many Ashwamedha horses. The king asked his sons, how many sons did Sagara have? 60,000 sons. To go in search of the horse and to bring it back. They were living in fertile times. They searched all the world over and could not find the horse. Then they dug the earth with their immensely powerful arms and entered the netherworld. When they proceeded in the northeasterly direction, they found a cave. Inside the cave was sitting a rishi in samadhi. And by the side of the rishi, they found the horse grazing happily. "Look at this thief," exclaimed the proud princess. "Having stolen our horse, he is sitting with his eyes closed, as though he knows nothing. Let us finish him off." So saying, they didn't know that Indra had tied that horse and gone off. So saying, the 60,000 stalwarts grasped their weapons in their hands and rushed towards the rishi. Now, who was sitting there? One of the avatars of Narayana, Kapila, who taught Devahuti. Kapila was sitting in the cave in samadhi. He opened his eyes. What is all this sound going on? He came and sat in another world saying, nobody will come and disturb me. There is a big clashing of swords. So he opened his eyes and he was irritated. And he glanced on them lightly. And the sons of Sagara, all the 60,000, were turned to a heap of ashes. Perhaps it is too wrong to say that the anger of Kapila burned them, because Kapila was sattva guna, which has taken a form for the good of mankind. And it is not possible for tamo guna, which is anger, to be found in him. Tamo guna is essentially earthly, and the rishis are so rich spiritually. And again it was this Kapila who taught man, who was floundering in the morass called samsara, how to cross it easily. It is with the help of this raft that man is able to make this fearful journey across the ocean. Such a personage can have neither friend nor foe. The thing is, he cannot have a foe, people understand. But he doesn't have a friend, people cannot understand. This is the difficulty. Anyway, Kapila was like that. How then were the Sagara Putras killed? If it was not the anger of Kapila, he only got irritated slightly. They died because they'd insulted a great man. And Indra, who had actually stolen the horse, had rid them of their power of thinking. Sagara had two wives. The mother of these unfortunate 60,000 was Sumati. The other wife was Keshini. She had one son by name Asamanja. Asamanja's son was Amshuman, and he was greatly devoted to his grandfather. Asamanja was a strange being. He had been a yogi in his previous birth. Unfortunately, he became involved in Sangha, attachment, not Satsanga, Sangha. As a result of this, he was born as the son of a king. He was, however, able to remember his previous birth. In the present birth, he protected himself from bondage, bandhana, by pretending to be a cruel man. Even as a young man, his many acts appeared to be inhuman. He put on a nice act. He displeased everyone around him and thus escaped the powerful bondage called affection. That's nice. Huh? Somebody came and said, hello, he said, shut up. What did he say? After 3 attempts, they gave up. So, he would frighten the citizens by catching hold of young children and pretending to throw them into the river Sarayu and clapping his hands in glee. His behavior was intolerable. His atrocities were so many that the people complained to the king that he had to be punished. According to the law of the land, Asamanja was banished from the country. Just before leaving for the forest, he restored all the children back to life whom he had thrown. And before the amazed people could say anything, quietly he walked away, and in the forest Asamanja performed tapasya and attained moksha. The king was unhappy that he had lost a good son. So he showered all his love on Amshuman, the only remnant line of Ikshvaku. Only one was left. Since the Ashwamedha had to be concluded, the king sent his grandson in search of his sons and the vanished horse. Long time had passed since the valiant brothers had gone in search of the horse and they did not come back. King was worried, what happened to them? Amshuman left the city in search of his uncles. He followed the path which they had taken and pursued the traces which they had left. He went under the earth along the path newly dug by them and reached New Jersey. After a long trek, he came back to the cave where the horse was still tied. Even as his uncles, he found Kapila in Samadhi. So Amshuman also reached there. He looked round. He saw Kapila sitting in Samadhi. By the side of the Rishi, he found an immense heap of ashes and he wondered, what is this? He went near the presence of Kapila, Vasudeva and saluted him, and not unlike his uncles, and spoke words of reverence to him. He said, my lord, even Brahma, the creator, has not been able to know you completely. When such is the case, how is it possible for ordinary mortals like us, mortals who have been caught in the web woven of Maya, web made up of sattva, rajas and so on? And he said, I salute you, my lord. I am beholden to you. He still didn't know what the heap of ashes. With his eyes raining tears, Amshuman fell at the feet of Kapila. The great man was pleased at the humility and devotion of the young prince. So he did not look at him with irritated eyes, okay? And said, child, take this horse which belongs to your grandfather. Indra brought it and left it here when I was in a yoga nidra. As for your uncles, they have been burnt because of their arrogance, and the only water which will cleanse their souls and take them to Pitruloka is the water of Mandakini, which is from Ganga, from the heavens. Amshuman went round him, prostrated before him. He then took the horse with him and came back to the city. His grandfather performed the yajna to completion. Unhappy at the thought of the fate of his sons, the old king Sagara crowned Amshuman as king and then went off to the forest to perform tapasya and find peace and moksha. Amshuman performed tapas to please Ganga and make her come down to the earth because he wanted his uncles to be released and sent to Pitruloka. So he went and did intense tapasya, finding out if that Ganga from the heavens can come down. Old age overtook him and he died. His son Dilipa was also unsuccessful in pleasing the Ganga. He too left his work unfinished and died. Generations have gone. Dilipa's son Bhagirata left his kingdom in the hands of his ministers and was intent on only one thing, bringing the Ganga down to the earth and granting Pitruloka to his ancestors. So he performed tapasya devotedly, so long. Ganga was pleased and appeared before him with folded hands. What did she say? Afternoon. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Radhe Radhe.